Facebook. Is it going to give me the notification? I don't know if it's going to give me the notification. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it takes a little bit, I feel like, to.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to go ahead and select. Yeah, we're live right now, so let me just tone it down so that way I don't like blast us talking like into an echo. But
Every time I go to share it, it wants me to share it from our page, and I don't get it.
yeah, I don't get it either. But I posted the link from. It's on Twitter. We should be live on YouTube. And let me go ahead real quick. To hang on, let me go to yeah. So we're live right now. Um, like into an echo, but let me post this link. Here. Okay, yeah. Let me know when you're ready, Jack, because I'm good.
I'm ready to go.
All right, awesome, man. Welcome in everybody to Load the Box. I'm your host, Jordan Hawthorne. I'm joined, as always, by the marvelous and wonderful Jack Day. A really good feeling this week. The Vikings, in case you didn't know, are about to go on a run, be the 7th seed, and win the Super Bowl. It's going to happen. And still, hopefully, draft a quarterback in the first round. I've seen a lot of overreactions for this game. But before we get into all of that and everything that we have been doing, um, Jack, how has your week been, and what do you think of the game?
It's a weird feeling, like you said. It's one of those things where neither one of us were expecting this to happen, but I think both of us had that feeling like there's so many people in this fan base that are out there saying, you know what, it's time to tank and go get our quarterback. And frankly, it was the most Viking thing to do, to go out and get a win against almost a guaranteed playoff team already, with Aaron Rodgers playing at a high level. Sure, the wind was a factor with the throwing and stuff, and Cousins was sure limited, which we kind of talked about last week. We didn't expect him to have the ball in his hands as frequently with the mistakes he made in that Atlanta game, and they just let it ride with Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook proved to be, if not the one of the best running backs in the NFL today.
Yeah, I definitely think this was a game where the Vikings said, and not because of the Vikings' opinion on Cousins, but because of the conditions with the heavy winds and the cold weather, and it just wasn't a day to throw the ball downfield very much. I legitimately don't think Cousins threw 15 times. I actually think he was like 11 for 13 or 14. Just very manage the game, don't do anything dumb. And Dalvin Cook ran all over Green Bay, which we probably should have. We wanted to have seen us do that in Week 1. I just don't think we got the chance to. But I think this Packers team has a weakness, and it's the same as last year. I think you can run the ball on them, and I mean, Dalvin, just an insane day. It was the first time since I want to say 79, either
Yep, that's right.
1979, since Ahmad Rashad had 4 touchdowns in a game. Dalvin Cook had a 50-yard screen that he took to the house, so a catch, and 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. The Vikings, defensively, first half, not so good. Second half, somehow, even though everybody was getting, dragged off the field, somehow the defense looked better in the second half, which is crazy to me, but hey, I'll take it. I will take it. And really quick, I do want to point out this is not a Peyton Hillis jersey like Jack thought before we went live. This is actually my Jim Klein salsa jersey, and the lighting is just a little wonky in here right now, I guess, and you can't really tell, but there's the Viking logo right there. It's just, I just got to lift my arm up a little bit and do the chicken dance. But a big win for the Vikings. Unless you really thought we were going to go 1-15 and catch the Jets, and somehow they were going to win 2 games. I mean, this is a huge win for the Vikings in division. And I don't want to talk about the playoffs, but I think we have to, just because everybody's going to be like, "Oh, could this team make the playoffs?" Blah blah blah. Jack, I think the last team to do it was the Chiefs. They started 1-5. They finished 11-5. Do you think the Vikings have an actual decent shot looking ahead at the schedule? Do you think the Vikings can sneak into the playoffs, or do you think this is just a kind of one-off division game and we'll go back to sucking next week against Detroit?
I don't think this Vikings team is bad enough talent-wise to go out and say that they're going to continue to suck the way that we saw against Atlanta. I think the frustrating aspect to this is we've seen it seems like at least once every year that a Zimmer-led team just they have one game where they just completely don't show up. And this year it was clearly that Atlanta game. You go back in that Buffalo game a couple years ago was just horrific as well. And it's a tough question because I mean we're 2-5 now, and we're still in last place in the NFC North. I think we have back-to-back divisional games with Detroit at home next week, and then I think we have a Monday night game against or in Chicago, which we have not had success in Chicago. And I mean Detroit is not an easy game either. I know they kind of got blown out by the Colts today. But hey, the Vikings a few weeks ago also got blown out by the Colts, if we've forgotten about that. I'm not ready to jump on the playoff train yet. I think my mindset is still at the point where I think we're going to string a couple wins together, maybe not in a row, but I think this is a 6, 7, 8 win football team where they're going to get some wins and do exactly what we said. They're going to push their way down in the draft order and not do enough to make the playoffs. That's what I personally think. But today, I mean, this was the exact type of game that Mike Zimmer wants this team to do. This looked like the Vikings when they had Teddy Bridgewater and trying to force it to Adrian Peterson. And Dalvin Cook completely carried this team. The Lambeau leap was a little bit excessive. I think he overstayed his welcome in the stands, and you definitely would not have stayed there that long if there was fans in the stands. But Dalvin Cook he shined today. That was a very solid performance. And for our defense to go out with, I mean, we already were out with Mike Hughes. We didn't have Holton Hill. And then you get Cameron Dancer with a scary neck injury. You get Chris Boyd with, I don't know if that's came out yet, but that didn't look good. It looked like an ACL, MCL, some sort of knee injury. He came up and grabbed his knee with both of his hands. And the Vikings still found a way to win. I know that Anthony Harris play on fourth down was a little bit suspicious of pass interference, and they picked the flag up, but it seemed like they were letting him play in Lambeau too, which is absolutely crazy because I don't remember the last time we've seen that. But you and I, neither one of us were really expecting this win, I don't think, but it's certainly a good feeling that we really haven't had at all this year, knowing that I can go to bed tonight after the Vikings just won. And going back to kind of what you said, I mean, the Chiefs found Patrick Mahomes. I think if I'm not 100% sure I have the pick correct, but I think it was the 10th overall pick. The Vikings can find a quarterback in the first round. I don't care if the Vikings go on and win and they make it as a wild card somehow as a 7th seed. I said it last year. I'm going to say it again. This team needs to draft a quarterback. They need, if it's Zach Wilson or Trey Lance, anyone, they're trying to develop. I don't want Trey Lance personally. I'd much rather have Zach Wilson, but they need to get someone in there that they can at least develop behind Kirk for a year or two. And if we see another game like we saw Kirk against Atlanta, you can get this kid out there and see what he can do with all the playmakers we have on this offense. So this offense is too good to struggle. Dalvin Cook, we saw today, can carry this offense. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and Irv Smith could also carry this offense. And just to kind of wrap up my offensive takes on the game today, that offensive line looked very good in run blocking today. Ezra Cleveland bounced back after a pretty ugly first career start. I think he played well today. O'Neal looked good. Bradbury's looking better each and every week. So I think there's a lot of pieces moving forward. Like I've been saying this for the last few weeks, and it's probably going to get really annoying to hear this, but we can start to look ahead to 2021 because this team, I know there's a lot of Vikings fans saying out there that there's a rebuild needed, and there certainly is rebuilds needed in some aspects of this roster, but we are not as far away from being a playoff team as some people believe. I know a lot of people think that we need that quarterback over Kirk Cousins, and I'm starting to agree with that more and more each day. But I think there's just so much talent on this team. I mean, our defense just held the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. I know it was a windy day. The weather was weird. But to 22 points, and they didn't have Daniil Hunter. They didn't have Anthony Barr. They don't have Mike Hughes. They don't have Michael Pierce. The list goes on. And then on top of all that, our secondary, it seemed like once every quarter we had a cornerback go down, and it was next man up. We had Josh Metellus, who was a 6th or 7th round pick this year out of Michigan. He's a safety that we put back at safety. And then we had Anthony Harris playing in the nickel spot. So it was an interesting Sunday, a lot of injuries, but I'm excited for the future of this franchise because there is so much talent on this roster.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like, and against Atlanta, it did kind of feel like it was, maybe detonate the thing, new coach, new GM, new quarterback, trade away all the good players. I legitimately think this team. I think the basement for this team is going to be like 5 wins. I think this is a 5-win football team at least. I think the ceiling could be, looking at the remaining schedule, like 10 wins, 9, 10 wins. The only game on the schedule that I look at and right now say no chance, not going to happen, is Tampa Bay. But I think the second hardest game on our schedule is going to be the Saints on Christmas. And the Saints don't look good. I don't know. I was watching the game a little earlier today at work while I was doing some stuff in the office, and the Saints looked like they were struggling big time with Chicago. So it'll be interesting to see how the year goes on. But I do think next year, I think, I don't know. I don't want to get into a big Cousins dump because he didn't play bad today. But he definitely didn't. At no point did I watch this game and say, like, oh, yeah, Cousins. No, this was the Dalvin Cook show. This was 100%, Mike Zimmer. Defense, run the ball, time of possession, in the snow. It was kind of snowing. It wasn't like the Denver game last week. But it was a good time. In the chat, really quick, want to give a shout out. My dad, Jeff, says, we love Klein Sucko. Because that's what he called him. My dad always hated Jim Kleins also, and I never got it because he's the best fullback in NFL history. But Chris Land says, last week I was wanting to bench Cousins. We got into a pretty heated debate Friday night on Fourth and Long, another show that I'm a panelist on, about Cousins and how I was saying it was time to move on, and he was saying, well, you're not going to find this production out of anybody in the league. Won't get into that debate now, but I agree with you. I think it's whether we're picking 5th, whether we're picking 32nd somehow, it's time to try and find a quarterback. And like you said, if it's a guy like Zach Wilson in the early to mid first, if it's a guy like D'Eriq King on day 2, you have to find somebody that you can have, and even if it is draft a quarterback on day 2 in like the mid second round, or trade up in the second round and get a quarterback. This class has a lot of guys, a lot of names that are coming out. There's a lot of potential there. So I think we both agree. I think most Vikings fans agree. I don't care what the outcome of this season is. It's time to get the future in the building. And if it is a project guy, it better be a good-looking project that, if we're sticking with Cousins for 2 more years, which, God, I hope we don't, but if we're sticking with Cousins for 2 more years, we, after those 2 years are up, this project better be ready to kick it into gear. But talking about that, we will move on. You can head, gosh, I'm flustered right now, and I don't know why. We will move on into talking about who gets our game balls this week. Game balls are here at Load the Box, one of the highest honors you can receive. Another one of the highest honors you can receive is having your manhood complimented, whether the scent of it, the trimming, I don't know, maybe you give it a little looking mustache thing, whatever it is, you can head on over to manscaped.com, use code LOADTHEBOX, save yourself 20% off. You can also get yourself free shipping with the code MANSCAPEDPOD. One more time, load the box. You can see the code. It's right there. Boom, bam, right there. Load the box, all one word. Gets you 20% off. And then Manscaped Pod is going to get you free shipping. Jack, I know you're very debative, or you're very, wishy-washy on who you want to give your game ball to on the defensive side. On the offensive side, and I might speak for both of us. You know what? Actually, I'll say the offensive line, because without them just creating massive holes for Dalvin Cook and getting out there in the screen game, this team can run a hell of a screen with how athletic our O-line is. I mean, every single one of them, it feels like every single one of them is just an athletic freak who's playing offensive line. Riley Reef and Dakota Dozier, maybe not so much, but still, they get it done. So I'm going to go with the O-line, the Tom Day offensive line appreciation right here. Really good day for
First one of the year, potentially, if I'm right. I don't know if we've really had much offensive line appreciation yet.
We haven't had a lot to talk about this year, Jack. It's been a bumpy season so far. But I will say, I think Cousins only got sacked once, if I'm aware. Tom Day in the chat shouting himself out. Thank you, so. I think Cousins only got sacked once, and it wasn't like the offensive line got blown up and gave up the sack. It was We
I think it was
ran
a
that.
cornerback blitz, if I'm
Yeah,
remembering
it was.
correctly.
Well, it was some type of blitz, and it was a play action, and the guy never bid on the play action at all. The whole way he
Yeah.
was foo-ushing at Cousins, and that's not something that you can let happen. But I mean, one sack out of the entire game is expected to happen. We didn't throw the ball enough for Cousins to really, for them to be able to bring that pressure on Cousins. So I'll go the offensive line, and on the defensive side of the ball, Jack, I'll let you give me your pick because I want to let you make that
So
pick.
I'm gonna get. I think we have to give a little bit of credit to Delvin Cook as well. Obviously, I think the offensive line strung together one of their best games. So I think it's 100% fair to give that to them. But I also believe I think Delvin Cook had like 100+ yards after contact today as well. Something like that. It was something ridiculous where he had a good game after contact. I don't know the exact number, but Delvin Cook, wow. I that was fun to watch. That was I don't know. The fact that he went out and scored 4 touchdowns today, and that hasn't been done since 1979. I mean, just to put that into perspective, the Vikings had Adrian Peterson. He never did that.
Randy
Randy Moss
Moss.
never did that. There's a lot of good, talented players, first ballot Hall of Famers, future first ballot Hall of Famers that played for the Vikings that had that opportunity, and it didn't happen. So Delvin Cook is an absolute special talent. I think the injuries are there, of course, but I think we're starting to see that, hey, you know what? We paid this guy and it's going to pay off because if we get a young quarterback, you know who's a young quarterback's best friend? An absolute freak of a running back is that quarterback's best friend. And hey, not to mention their wide receivers aren't too shabby either, and Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. So just wanted to give a little bit of love to Delvin Cook, but I shouldn't say I'm torn on the defensive side. If you follow Load the Box on Twitter, if you aren't following them, go follow them at LTB Vikings. If you are following them, I've kind of been blowing myself up a little bit because I get a little bit excited when I get stuff right. And I kind of had it was a weird prediction, weird feeling that I had last week just because the Unique Ngakoue trade happened and we have such limited pass rushers. Aaron Rodgers wasn't, we were getting a little bit of a pass rush on him today, but it wasn't anything major. And at the end of the game, DJ Wanham, he was my game ball pick last week when we recorded the show on Wednesday night, had a strip sack on Aaron Rodgers. And it was just, I mean, it was one of those plays where he didn't give up on the play. So I wanted to toot my horn a little bit, but at the same time, I don't think DJ Wanham, yes, that limited Aaron Rodgers. I looked this up today because I was writing the game recap. Aaron Rodgers has thrown for 10% of the successful Hail Mary attempts, I think, in NFL history. He's done it like 3 out of 29 times. It's happened 29 times, and Aaron Rodgers has done that 3 times. So to expect him to be able to deliver on a play like that it's not absurd. He's done it before. Having said that, DJ Wanham, it was awesome that he got that sack, but I have to go with Eric Kendricks getting the game ball. I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but I'm pretty sure he had 12 tackles today. And Eric Kendricks might have been the next man up at cornerback if we had another cornerback get hurt because he was covering Devontae Adams today like a cornerback, and he was playing like a man on a mission. That man, I mean, I know they got I think it was the 2-point conversion where they got it and they reviewed it, and it was very close, but Eric Kendricks was right there. He stood up Jamal Williams at the line. Granted, the ball crossed the plane, but Eric Kendricks was all over the field today, and he is the key piece to this defense moving forward. He is so talented at that linebacker position. He's sideline to sideline, and he's hitting his gaps better than he was earlier in the season from what it looked like today as well, and he's making those tackles. I think Eric Kendricks, I think every Packer fan in this world would tell you that their defense would die for a player like Eric Kendricks. I have some buddies that are Packers fans, and they say that to me. So Eric Kendricks is an absolute freak. I think he's gotten better every single year he's been in the NFL, and he is going to be a key piece to this, I'm going to use air quotes, rebuild that we're doing right now. And I think in 2021, this defense is going to be something special again. And I think that's kind of why the Wilfs are sitting back a little bit right now and saying, you know what, Mike Zimmer, there's just been so many weird moving pieces this offseason with the limited offseason, the no preseason. I say this frequently as well, and every team in the NFL had to deal with that. But the Vikings have been hit pretty hard by the injury bug as well. Their secondary is youthful the way it is, and they're getting banged up more than any other secondary that I remember in recent memory. So for Eric Kendricks to go out and play the way he did in run support, and then on top of it, be able to stick with a guy like Davante Adams. I said this today. I think Davante Adams, he might be my clear-cut number one wide receiver in the NFL right now. I think Davante Adams is so talented. I know there's guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones and Slant Boy down in New Orleans that people might want to throw in there, but I don't think he's
you
top
named
three.
two guys that are actually like, I think it goes like Hopkins, Julio, and then we can talk about Davante Adams. I don't think old Slant Boy, old punch my teammate in the face and then judo chop my coaching staff, hasn't played a game since week 1, deserves to even have his name brought up. So I'm going to go back in post-production, and I'm going to edit that out because we don't even need to talk about Michael Thomas. But I do want to bring up really quick, I took a photo today at the end of the game, and I don't think I sent it to you. I don't think it was a Snapchat photo. I did take a picture, and I posted it on my Facebook, not the Load the Box, just my personal Facebook. And I said that, I just said mood, and this is the photo right here. Let's see if you can, if it'll kind of focus in. It won't, because it's a phone trying to be recorded through a webcam, but it's just Rodgers getting creamed by DJ Wanham. So because you're going with Eric Kendricks with your game ball, I'm going to go with DJ Wanham. Just because of that one play, like you said, Aaron Rodgers has a history of being pretty good at throwing Hail Marys, and as soon as we ran the ball 3 times, to run them out of timeouts, as soon as we did that, me, my dad, my brother, we were all like, yeah, it's over. We're going to lose. 1-6, here we come. We lost to the Titans by 1. We lost to Seattle, in super close game. We lost to Green Bay. It's just not our year. We'll get them next time. Trey Lance, Justin Fields, here we come, chugga chugga, whatever it is. So, but because DJ Wanham just creamed Aaron Rodgers, and it was a good hit too. It was a veteran hit in the sense of I'm gonna strip this ball, and it was it was just a good plays going on for 5 or 6 seconds. You don't stop on the play, and I like what, who was it? I think it was Mike Zimmer, said something about. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Eric Kendricks earlier in the week said something about how, like, he wanted these the young Viking players to realize that you can win or lose a football game with one play that you make, and was just kind of going over with the young defensive players, which is pretty much our entire secondary and defensive line at this point, like, just going over, like, you can win a game with a play like that. You can single-handedly just end all hope for Green Bay by getting one strip sack, by not quitting on a play. You know that it's going to take him a second to get to the end zone. Don't stop. Make him get outside. And then once he gets outside, run away from your man and go get Aaron Rodgers. So really impressed with DJ Wanham getting that last second sack. Other notable names, Anthony Harris playing, in the nickel spot. That's insane. Him having to do that. And oh, man. Jeff Gladney, maybe not. I don't know. I haven't looked at his stats. It seemed like he was there on a lot of plays, but it also seemed like there were a lot of plays where, Aaron Rodgers just made an incredible throw, and there's nothing really you can do about it. I think Jeff Gladney is on the rise. I think he's at a good trajectory right now, but, it'll be interesting to see how his season continues to play out. And also, really quickly, I do just want to say, big time T's and P's for not Jeff Gladney, for Cam Dantzler. From what I heard, Zimmer said in his post-game conference, he's okay. He's going to ride back with the team tonight. So that's good. That's very good news. He has movement in his legs and hands. Being from Cincinnati, it's there's a lot of Bengals fans, and for some reason there's a lot of Steelers fans in this area. I know a lot of Pittsburgh fans. And as soon as I saw that type of a hit and I saw him laying there, my mind instantly went to that Thursday night when Ryan Shazier had that contact, and everybody knows that story since. Thank God that man's able to walk, let alone do some of the things he's still able to out-jump me, and I'm pretty sure he couldn't, and this isn't a joke, I'm pretty sure he could not move his legs for like a month. So, really glad Cam Dantzler's okay. Hope he does not miss too much time, but at the same time, not going to be mad if he is unable to play against Detroit next week, because that was a scary hit that he, it was just kind of, I'm again, not a joke. He got knocked out by Anthony Harris's ass. It looked like he Hayos came in to hit him, and his butt cheek just smacked Danslow back and then kind of knocked him out, and he went limp. And scary scene on the football field. Big time thoughts and prayers for him. But Jack, do you have anything else you want to bring up from this game that you want to talk about before we tell people tune in on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I just want to touch on Jeff Gladney a little bit because I've been advocating for him more than I probably should have been. I wrote an article for Vikings Wire actually essentially saying that both of the Vikings first round picks look like long-term starters. And I had people in the comments kind of ripping me apart for saying that because Gladney got burnt a couple times. Cornerbacks get burnt. That's going to happen. This guy, he's what? They're 2-5. So this was his 7th game. He didn't start the season on the starting lineup either. So he hasn't even played in all of those 7 games. However, he's like you said, I agree with you. I think he's on the up and up. And his physicality in the run game, it makes me happy because that was one of the things that I think I talked about over and over and over again. When we were talking about cornerbacks and doing our cornerbacks draft shows in early 2020, I was saying we need dogs. We need physical cornerbacks that are going to come in here and hit people. I want to see Antoine Winfield again come flying down and absolutely just smack somebody in the backfield. I think we have that. I think Mike Hughes is another very physical corner. I think both of those guys are willing to hit. We've seen Cameron Dantzler is also willing to throw his body around.
The needle.
And the coverage is going to come. If you were watching the game today, you saw Mike Zimmer. Jeff Gladney, I don't remember. I think it was the first Devontae Adams touchdown where he gave him a stutter step inside and Gladney had help on the inside, but he went inside anyways when he should have had outside containment on him. And I think that's just kind of cornerback 101. So Zimmer, Gladney was running off the sideline, and I feel bad for that because I always talk about my high school coach, how football coaches, when they yell, you can hear a pin drop in that room. It is a scary thing to be a part of. I know these guys have been doing it for their entire lives, but Mike Zimmer doesn't look like he's a fun guy to be yelled at by. And I think that's what Mike Zimmer is saying. Like he was pissed off because he had the help on the inside and he just got burnt. And he's gotten burnt several times this season. But that's just so normal. I mean, you see guys like Jair Alexander. Jair Alexander almost got burnt by Justin Jefferson today if it wasn't for a pass interference where he was tugging on Justin Jefferson a little bit. But you see, and he's QB1 according to Packers Twitter right now. And I agree with that. I think Jair Alexander is a very, very good cornerback still rising. I think he does have that lockdown potential, but I think cornerbacks get burnt. Playing defense in the NFL is so hard.
Especially
playing cornerback in the NFL with no or a limited offseason and no preseason for a guy like Jeff Gladney, where Jeff Gladney was playing in the Big 12. They're not expected to play defense in the Big 12. So I think Jeff Gladney is going to be one of those guys where it might take him a little bit of time, but that physicality is there, and that just excites me. And he's working with one of the biggest defensive back gurus in the NFL and Mike Zimmer. So I think we're going to be okay. We have so much youth at that position. And for the first time in my life, I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, for the first time in my life, I think I can comfortably say that the Vikings are not going to draft a cornerback in the first round this year because the talent is there. And now that I said that, Vikings Twitter is going to be coming for me come April or May, whenever the draft is in 2021, because night one's going to roll around and Kamish is going to walk up there and he's going to say that the Vikings just drafted a cornerback with their 9th or 10th overall pick, and the Vikings fan base is going to explode. But no, I agree with you. I think Jeff Gladney is rising, and I think he's a very fun football player to watch.
I think this Vikings secondary is about to have a little bit of a resurgence. It's I'm not gonna say we're gonna win a bunch of games. I do just think that Dantzler's gonna come back, and I think Dantzler's been our best corner this year. I think Gladney is on the up and up. I'm not saying we're gonna see the 2017 defense just pop up out of nowhere, but we do have a pretty good third down conversion rate right now as a defense. There are some positives to look at. We're very young, and I think Vikings fans, we might have to get into this a little bit on the Wednesday show. Vikings fans have reason to watch this game and watch a couple games this year, even some of the losses like against Tennessee and Seattle, and think to themselves, you know what? Next year is going to be better. We're going to have to get some new pieces. We'll see what free agency brings, but I think this is, this is a solid football team right now. I think this is a middle of the pack, probably going to be picking in the top 16, 15 picks. I still think we're a decent football team. Yeah, I'm watching. Tom Day had an excellent comment um, that I don't want to laugh at because it was such a scary injury. But Tom Day says butt cushion in the chat, which is pretty good. I will wait to crack a bunch of jokes about the butt cushion until we're positive Cam Dancel's okay. But yeah, I think that's all I got. I think that's all we got for this week's show. Tune in on Wednesday night at, let's see, Eastern time, probably like 6:15. Central time, it's going to be like 5:15. We'll be going live. We'll be talking about this Detroit Lions game, the revenge game of Everson Griffin and Jaron Curse and Adrian Peterson. Pretty much, come watch the 2015 Vikings play the 2020 Vikings, and we'll see who wins out. We'll see who comes up on top. I feel like all they need now is.
Could you imagine if Matt Stafford got hurt? I don't think he's even on the roster anymore. But could you imagine if all of these ex-Vikings came in US Bank Stadium and Kyle Slaughter was their quarterback and they beat the Vikings? Vikings Twitter would no longer be a thing after that. I think it would absolutely hit its breaking point and Vikings Twitter would explode.
So I started to say a hot take a second ago, and I'm going to throw it in here just in the final seconds of this show. I don't think we should. I don't think we should be on the fire Mike Zimmer train at any point for the rest of the season, because this defense is starting to look better. And also, I've said it a couple times. I think we forgot what we were saying in the offseason of, hey, this is going to be a bumpy year. I think we have forgotten that a bumpy year means like 2-5. A bumpy year is not, sitting there right on the edge of the playoffs. I mean, I was expecting us to only win 6 or 7 games, and unfortunately I'm correct, but I don't know. I think I got caught up in watching draft highlights and stuff like that, and I started thinking this was a Super Bowl team again, and it never is. But that's all it is. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more on Wednesday. Jack, I will pass it off to you now after I one very quickly tell you to go and give us a follow on Twitter at LTB Vikings. One more time, that is at LTB, like load the box. You can kind of see it down that way, right here. Hang on, let me find it. Bam, bam, bam. Follow load the box LTB. You can see it right there. Follow us on Twitter. One more time, at LTB Vikings. I'm just going to keep saying it until we hit 1 million subscribers. Oh, not subscribers, but 1 million followers. Follow myself on Twitter at jhawthorne16. One more time, at jhawthorne16. And then Jack, you can find him on Twitter posting just some straight fire, just some straight, absolute hot stuff. For Vikings Wire, for K-Fan, you name it, he writes for it. Follow him on Twitter at Jack_H_day. One more time, that's at Jack_H, as in, holy cow, are the Vikings going to win it all? _day. Jack, I'll pass it off to you. I'll let you give us a little bit of a discussion. One more time, tune in Wednesday night for the Lions breakdown.
Yeah, make sure you tune in on Wednesday. I think it'll be a fun show, just talking about all of these, the Detroit Vikings of 2015 coming to US Bank Stadium. But I just enjoy this. I don't think the Vikings fans are going to be able to enjoy more moments like this, or a sweeter moment than this year. You went into Lambeau Field and you beat Aaron Rodgers and a Packers team that is for sure more than likely headed to the playoffs. They're a good football team. I know they are struck by injuries as well, but the Vikings have shown that they are not. I think that Atlanta game was a little bit of a fluke. I know there's people out there that think the Vikings really are that bad. I don't think they are that bad. They have so much talent. And the Trevor Lawrence talks and the Justin Fields talks, if we continue to win, I know it's going to bother some people because we're not technically tanking anymore and we're winning some football games. Tanking is not an option in the NFL. Mike Zimmer is not going into work this week to say, hey, you know what? How can we find a way to lose this game this week so we can secure a higher draft pick? The NFL doesn't work like that because it's called the not for long league for a reason. Coaches, GMs, players, people lose their jobs because of mistakes that they make, and these guys are going to bring it each and every week. Delvin Cook sure did not look like a player that was looking for a high draft pick today. That's all I can say. The Vikings are not going to be tanking. Tanking is not a real thing. I think the Jets are actually just that bad of a football team, and the Vikings are not on that level. They're going to get some wins, and I said this today to one of my buddies. Even if they get some wins, if they string 6-7 wins together on the season, be aggressive in this draft. I know that Rick Spielman has that tendency to trade down and secure more draft picks. We have at least, I think it's 12 to 13 draft picks, something like that. And I don't know for sure how many we have, but it's another big number. I think that would be close to setting the record if the Vikings didn't set the record for most draft picks, in a draft last year with 15, and they're close to that again. So they have the ammunition to trade up, go up and get a quarterback in the first round. If you end up getting the 10th overall pick, trade up a little bit. If you fall in love with Zach Wilson, take your shot. I think we're going to see a little bit more of an aggressive Rick Spielman in this draft class, because I think they know that if they go into 2021 and they see a similar start to the season, how they saw this year, both of their jobs are going to for sure be on the line. I think the Wilfs are kind of easing into it with the circumstances that 2020 have brought to this team, but the Wilfs are going to hang on to them. And I think 2021 is going to be their make or break season. So I think they have to go out and they have to be aggressive in the 2021 NFL draft. Having said that, there's still 9 football games left this year. Enjoy those as well. I know it's hard when the Vikings are 2-5, but we're Vikings fans where we can overcome anything at this point. Honestly, we've lost 4 Super Bowls. We have to live next to a state in Wisconsin that has to rub that in our face and let us know that we've never won a Super Bowl. But enjoy it tonight. We just went to Lambeau Field. We didn't even bring this up on the show. We won outside after a bye with Mike Zimmer on a field that's played on real grass. I mean, that is unheard of in the Mike Zimmer era. I don't think we're supposed to do that.
I just want to bring one thing up. I know I said I was done, but why do Vikings fans find the dumbest stats? You never hear us come up with like, oh yeah, every time we play on field turf in the state of, not in the state, but like in the central time zone in the month of September, we win the football. Like, you never hear these weird stats that are positive. It's always these weird, like, oh yeah, we never win off a bye on real grass in the division. Like, it just doesn't happen with Mike Zimmer as the head coach. It's so, why do we do that? Why are we a miserable fan base? Like, I just don't get it. But I don't know. That's all I got. I'm going to have to do some research.
After you say that, I'll further prove the point and say that Mike Zimmer, as a head coach, went from being 2-4 after the bye to now 3-4 after the bye. So that stat is almost out the window. I'll leave it at that. Enjoy the win tonight.